You feel the love?
I can hit that note now.
It's a great note.
I have it.
Wow, look at you. That's awesome. You got that, dude.
And you've tuned in to Martine's episode 4, Barcast.
Barcast-Episode 4. Yeah, that's great. Thank you guys for coming back. We're at the Ice House. We're back with Mary Maxine because it was just freaking... the time went really quick because we just had all these like freaking wormholes that we traveled through. Like
I know, we have to stay focused,
we'll
right?
Stay focused.
We have topics this time.
We're going to show Rick that we can get buzz and still stay focused.
Oh, wow. This is after recording the first episode. Oh, yeah. I forgot I'm supposed to play to the camera.
That's awesome.
I'm ready for my close-up.
So listen, let's pick up where we left off because
right.
people, we were talking about the whole psych meds and foster care, and so you've told me the story before, but share with them the day that you ended up there. The day that you ended up there, you can either start from when you were at the counselor or when you actually got there and they started doing the inventory on you, which I think that's the correct word.
Yeah, well, pretty much. So my case went like this. I was considered a runaway, long story short, but I was still going to school. And so when the school found out that I was a runaway, the school police officer came and took me in.
Well, let's clarify. You were considered a runaway, but you were not a runaway.
I was staying with friends.
Yeah.
I was trying to get help. My family told me it was a phase and that I would get over it. I had been through certain things as a child, different traumatic situations, and bounced around household to household, and trying to maintain my high honor roll status and being the academic scholar and marching band and jazz band. I eventually cracked my freshman year. I had been cutting for a while, and I wanted to get help. I knew I needed help, but my family, again, they said it was a phase and I'd get over it because I was a teenager going through puberty.
Cutting. So what do you mean cutting? Like
cutting myself. Cutting.
There's people that don't know what cutting is.
It's not suicidal attempts.
Right.
It's a coping mechanism. Just like some people run to drugs or punching walls or yelling at people.
Hey, in the 80s, we used to bang our head and fucking just scream.
It's self-harm. It's self-harm.
That's how we let out aggression.
What
it's a way to let out your aggression.
Call
right?
it, yeah.
Is that what it is?
To me, it is. When you're in a situation, especially as a child, where you have no voice, it doesn't matter if you tell people what's going on because the adults that you're telling are the people that are doing these things, or there's no voice to, who wants to really step in and do something about it? Because then they'll have to be responsible for doing something about it.
Once you're aware of something, if you're a piece of shit if you don't handle it. You can't. You can't just.
And as a kid,
la 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 la. You can't pretend
exactly.
It's not there. There's sometimes where you can't pretend it's not there. Reality, you shouldn't la 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 la. But there's things that you should.
Unfortunately for children, a lot of people la 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 because either they relate to it or they don't want to relate to it. They want to pretend that childhood is a happy go lucky situation. Like, I think I relate to that Inside Out movie when they have these core memories. I don't know if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. They have these core memories, and it develops who this girl is. She likes hockey because of things she did as a child, and relationships, friendships that she has. And with children, if you don't have those good core memories, then you develop bad core memories, and these bad core memories develop who you are as you grow up.
Sure.
You don't have anybody instructing you on how things should be. You just think, well, this is how it should be, and this is how I'm going to make that happen. And
building a life is like building a house. It's a foundation. Whatever that foundation
exactly.
is set forth is what that
and
will
unfortunately,
become.
We're not giving these children a very good foundation.
Correct.
I was lucky enough to have different teachers in my life and counselors, and honestly, I had Soul Train, and I had these things on TV that inspired me. I had Star Search, and I was gonna be that girl. I was gonna make it, and I was.
You have a beautiful voice, by the way.
Thank you. I'm gonna be a rock star, and I have an opportunity. Like Michael Jackson had it bad. I can be like him, or Oprah had it bad, and I can be like her, and I'm gonna get out of this situation. So I focused on school, but the problem is, as a child, when you're dealing with current traumatic stress syndrome, it turns into post-traumatic stress syndrome, and you're dealing with all these things, trying to go to school, trying to function normal, trying to keep hope and faith alive that you're going to get out of your situation, you're not going to be stuck in this world forever. It all bears down.
So you snapped and started cutting.
Yeah.
Understandable.
So back to current moment, when I got into foster care, the officer takes me away, and they notice that I have huge wounds on me.
Let's back up a little bit. They took you. The officer took you away as a police officer.
It was a school. It was a
Child
school
Protective
police. It was a
Services?
school police officer. It's the
Okay.
officer that writes citations when you're tardy and stuff
Okay.
like that, which is a whole nother horrible topic.
Gotcha.
But anyway, so they eventually decide to 5150 me because they see the things that I have on my body.
And for those who don't know, that 5150 is a 72-hour hold, right?
Yes.
Because you're a danger to yourself or a danger to others.
Exactly.
Okay, and it's also a Van Halen album.
So they 5150 me on a hold, and once that happens, my family signs away custody. So I
Wow.
become a ward of the court.
You're how old at this point?
I was 13, turning 14. It was my freshman year. So once I became a ward of the court, that automatically makes the judge the person who decides whatever can happen to me. So when you go into the counseling office to talk to these therapists on your 72-hour, first they make you do this horrible 500 and something question quiz. It's psych eval, if you've ever had a psych evaluation. And it's these ridiculous questions.
I'm gonna do you know what? I want to download it online. Hopefully
You
it's
should,
available online, because I just want to see where I rate with this.
You should try and find it. I mean, it's probably different, the psych eval, from when I was, but it, I don't know, 2000, 2001, the
So
psych
you go
eval.
through the 500 questions.
And so then they start marking me down. They take pictures of the different parts of my body that I had done things to. The tattoos, I had tattoos
So you're 13.
when I was 13.
Are these guys or chicks taking pictures?
Both guys and girls.
Okay. And you're just like a piece of thing right there.
Yeah, like I mean,
can't imagine any parent letting their 13-year-old just be photographed parts of her body just because the fuck.
Well, in my family's idea of things, I put myself there. It was my choice. It was my choice to do that. I chose to run away, even though I was trying to get counseling. I was trying to get help, and they didn't want to help me. They're like, it's a phase. You're gonna get over it. So when I got 5150'd, I actually thought I was gonna get help. I thought, like, oh my gosh, people are gonna listen to me, and I'm gonna have a voice, and people will understand that I'm not crazy. Everybody else in my world is crazy. Like, I'm surrounded by drug addicts. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on? I'm trying to do something with my life. And unfortunately, that was not the case. I became force-fed medications. You don't have an opportunity to say no, because if you say no, then you get booty juice, which is...
You got booty juiced immediately, right? Almost?
No, actually, I got booty juice the second time around in the mental hospital. Yeah.
Okay.
Once the first 72-hour hold, I guess I was in shock. Whatever they told me to do, I just did. And then I got sent to shelter care, which was part of the old Camarillo State Hospital. We called it Unit 70. It was up in the hills. And, I mean, you take your meds, you cough and squat, because they're mandatory meds. You don't have an option. And eventually...
Did you get a psychiatric counseling or did you get an evaluation by a doctor that said give her these medications?
Yeah, everything. All the time. They regularly check blood work. They check your levels. But you become a part of this program. You wake up at 8 o'clock, and I had a 1-to-1. And a 1-to-1, because I cut myself, or I was a cutter at the time, a 1-to-1 meant that I couldn't leave their arm length. So when I went to the bathroom, the door was open. When I showered, the doors were open. When I slept, they watched me. I had no shoelaces. Like, I went from a straight A student with high academics, marching band, jazz band, all these things, a cutter because I was trying to cope with my fucked up situation. That don't get
locked up.
No.
Shit ton of cutters
I just became one of those statistical anomalies in the world that's what happened to me. So the second time I went to the hospital, I was talking to the counselor, the therapist or whatnot, and telling him, basically explaining why I cut myself, and I don't know what he took it as, but he called a code. I forgot the code, but he called a code on me, and all of a sudden, like 6 doctors, like they're not even doctors, they're like the medical assistants.
But they're all wearing scrubs.
Yeah, they're all in scrubs. Come charging at me and tackle me down, and I'm fighting with everything in me because
You're 13 years old.
Yes, it's not your natural reaction to just let people take you in 5-point restraint. So I'm fighting.
5-point restraint.
A 5-point restraint. So that means one person per limb.
Where's the 5th fucking limb?
On your chest.
Jesus.
So you can't get up.
4-point restraint.
No, 5-point restraint. So when they put you in the 5-point restraint, there's one holding your chest, one holding each arm, and I'm lifted above the ground as they're pulling me into this cement room with a bed in the middle of the room, and the prison mats on top of this brick center area, and then there's straps for your legs, your arms, and the 5-point across your chest and your head. I was fighting so hard when they were doing this to me that I was able to wiggle my arm loose. So I let them finish, but I kept my arm in a position to where it was loose when they walked out. So as soon as they walked out, I started unstrapping myself, and they had already given me 2 shots of Thorazine.
So that's what you called booty juice earlier, right? The Thorazine. Thorazine is a heavy fucking drug.
Yeah, and they put it on each side of your butt, so it's called booty juice.
So they 2 shots of those.
One on each side, and so as soon as they walk out, I take the straps off, and I get up, and I'm like starting to unstrap myself, and then they come back in. Boom!
Wait a minute. So look, at that point, I just to play devil's advocate here, even had you gotten fucking loose,
what would I have done? I don't know. I don't know. It's just your natural instinct.
It's your natural instinct to fight. You can't just sit there and say, "Fuck it, I'm tied up. I ain't gonna do shit."
Yeah, who in your life does that to you?
You try to escape.
What kid knows what to do in that situation?
No
you know what I mean?
If they tie me up and
if people start coming at you, your natural response is like, "What the fuck?" Yeah. Get off me.
So you got 2 shots in your ass, and now
you're
tied up.
They strap me down. They throw me down again, and I get 2 more shots of Thorazine.
This is within what time frame?
Like immediately.
So in less than an hour.
Oh yeah.
In less than an hour, you're getting, and I don't know what the dose of
I
these fucking
don't know
Thorazine is, but this is 4
but
shots. They assumed that the first 2 was gonna take you down. It didn't, so they give you 2 more.
Yeah.
So now you just got a double dose.
And I'm still fighting, and I'm actually singing to myself and yelling and still very
sounding like a crazy person.
Yeah, basically, because I'm trying to cope with what the fuck just happened. The reality of
crazy.
Who's gonna save me? Who can talk for me? Who knows what's going on right now, this moment?
That will make you crazy.
So I'm singing to myself and yelling still, and they come back in and they give me 2 more shots in my thigh, 1 on each thigh.
So now you're 6 deep. The first two usually knock most motherfuckers out. You're a teenager and you've got 6.
So then I'm out. I don't remember anything after that. I remember waking up the next day hard. I couldn't walk because they shoot that stuff in your muscle.
Yeah.
So my legs were dead, and they had me on so much Risperdal that my vision was blurred.
So you're on Risperdal and Thorazine.
While I was coming off of it, but by that time, it was to the point where they would just come in with Malveral, and I had to just bend over and take it. If I didn't just bend over and let them shoot me up,
I just had to bend over and take it.
That's really what it was.
Wow.
That's really what it was. And I had journals of all these things that were going on, and I'm like, I'm gonna tell my story. I'm gonna, this isn't my life. This isn't really happening to me.
But how many kids is this happening to?
I know the kids that I went through the system with, and there's stories about places in Utah and Colorado where they can do other things to you. When I got into the system, they had just stopped locking kids in rooms.
Solitary.
At level 16s, level 16 lockdowns. And I was in a different lockdown in Bakersfield.
And so, look, when I started this Barcast, I'm like, you know what? I don't know what I want to do. I want to talk to people and kind of make a difference in the world. Like, just expose things and try to unfuck certain things. There's no reason why in 2015, kids should be getting locked up and treated like adults were getting treated in the 50s and 60s in these mental institutions. I mean, until John F. Kennedy came along and said, hey, listen, you can't be fucking shocking all these fucks in the head and keeping them in these fucking these they call them loony bins, were freaking horrible.
Yeah.
A horrible place to be. And then they started putting them in retirement homes and assisted care living, which is not a place where you deal with those people. We have a problem with adults and mental health, clearly, and what to do with them. But the fact that these kids
But I think a lot of it starts as
just
children. The reason why we have adults with mental health issues is because we're not helping our children. We're not making sure that these children, if you were to talk to majority of the people in prison, in county, in these mental assisted living situations, they will probably tell you that they grew up in some type of foster facility, group home, YA, that they grew up in these institutions.
And these institutions, in their defense, are probably understaffed and underfunded.
Why are we funding institutions instead of why are we funding criminal institutions instead of funding home institutions? Why are we instantly assuming that because they come from these situations, they're already going to be bad people, so let's just funnel them into this area of life instead of giving them, like I was saying in episode 3,
the first part one.
Part 1 is that it needs to be considered more like a community, like a culture. We shouldn't be looked at as something that needs to be fixed or placed somewhere. We need to have a community of people.
Where you're raised.
Exactly, where you are just, this is where, this community is a community of foster people, foster, children. They're all your brothers and sisters. You're all going through the same situation.
Well, the problem with that is that it sounds like a commune and a cult.
Well, but the reality is...
Don't get me wrong, I'm not against
I get it. I know how it
could... People
get
afraid of that shit.
But you have to think that we are our own culture. What makes you your own culture is being raised in a certain situation or demographic that creates your identity. And foster kids create their identity through the system. So if you have that as your identity, that's your culture. That's what you relate to. We have certain words. We know, like if I was to talk to another foster kid, they know what it's like to be on different levels. Because you get put on levels in order to have certain privileges or restrictions, or they know what contraband is, or they know what it's like to be AWOL. They know all these things that
kids usually would never even think.
Not unless you grow up in that culture. And not unless you identify with being raised in that situation.
And as a human being, you're a beautiful human being. I mean, I've hung out with you numerous times, and I always have an amazing time with you. Whatever the fuck they did to you, you overcame it and you survived it, which is not the case with a lot of people. But you've somehow had the fortitude to freaking rise above it, and that's. I mean, as there's a huge level of respect that I have for you as a human.
Thank you.
For overcoming those circumstances and still fucking keeping your shit together.
To me, I attribute it honestly to other people.
Okay.
I think if it's not about me. It's really not about me. It's about the people that are still going through it. Because I'm in a place in my life where I'm doing what I want to do. I have the Comfort Project, which stems from being in foster care. We work toward providing bed-in-a-bags, personal bedding for foster children because it gives them an identity.
Tell me that story of how when you were in there, because I know you mentioned how like when you get transferred, you guys get transferred, and when you get transferred, they put all your personal belongings into a trash bag, and then you grab your shit, you walk out, and you go to the next place, and it's
Well, like I said in episode 3, you would think that when you become a foster kid in the United States, like it would be a privilege. Like the Americans would be like, dope, we have children that we can cultivate and give them the best education and give them the best of everything.
A lot of pro-lifers.
You know what I mean?
A lot of pro-lifers that love the kids.
Exactly.
There's
Why
a bunch
are
of them that need some help.
You would think that the Americans would start a commune, you know what I mean, and say these are our foster children, and we're gonna raise them and give them the best life that we could possibly give them. You know, when you go to jail, you get your cot and your toothbrush and your toothpaste and your old little hygiene kit or whatever. Foster care is not the same way. Most of the time, kids are taken out of whatever scary situation they're in. I was taken from school. I didn't have anything. And then you're just there. Nobody knows you exist because most of the time you've grown up in a neglectful situation. So you're just in the system. So the system relies on organizations like myself, which is the Comfort Project. And the Comfort Project provides an identity by giving kids a space of their own. When you're in foster care, you have a bed and a closet, and that's it. You move every 3 to 6 months. Like you said, things are thrown in a trash bag. And so we try to give them an individual identity, a space of their own that they can have a place to dream. That's the motto, is that every child deserves a place to dream. And so we really focus on giving them that place while they're in the system so that they know there are people out here that believe they can dream.
They give a shit.
Yeah. That you can achieve your dreams, you know.
You know, that's I mean, you brought up so many things that can get explored, you know. I always believe that everything happens for a reason. I believe that everything happens for a reason. Like I said, my passion has never been foster kids. It's not like I was like, oh my God, there's a place in my heart for foster kids. But when I heard your stories, I was just like, first of all, the fact that these kids are being forced, that these drugs are being forced down their throat, drugs that in a lot of cases are harmful to an adult. They're giving these to fucking kids who aren't crazy. They've come from a place where they're afraid. They're lashing out because they have no coping skills.
Exactly.
And all they need is a little fucking attention. And there's people that will say, no, there's some kids that are just fucked up. There's some kids that are just fucked up. No. If you can't reach that kid, it means that you're fucked up.
That's how I feel about it.
That kid's mind and brain hasn't been fully developed yet. You have an impact on how you could develop it and mold it. And if that kid is taking over, you're the
what kind of adult are you?
Yeah, what kind of a human are you? Maybe you're the one that needs the fucking meds. And but it makes me crazy again that it's something that could be fixed, and I don't want to say easily be fixed, but there's plenty of people that give a fuck that would go in there and almost and volunteer and try to fix this system, but it's one of those, how do you get in there? How do you get in there and make a difference?
I think an awesome thing would be artists creating a school that's specifically for foster kids, a school of the arts just for foster kids that can help funnel these talented young people into a position of acting and comedy and interaction with community. Right now, if you're in foster care, you're just waiting till you get out. And then when you get out, you're like, oh my God. But what if kids in care actually have an opportunity to explore their life, and that's, again, what the Comfort Project is about. We believe every kid deserves a place to dream, and, you know, having connections with people like you and other, I work with Chuck D, as you know, and stuff like that. I try to bring in different influences and live the example. I came from where you came from, and I had a dream, and I'm doing everything I can possibly think of at the moment to achieve it, and you can too.
And listen, the Comfort Project, I know they provide a bed.
A bed in a bag, a bed in a bag. So that's the comforter, the sheets, everything that goes with the bed.
So they make that bed personal. At least
yes.
It doesn't have like some shitty fucking sheets that they gave you. It's your bed.
And you can take it wherever you go.
And that way you don't have to put your shit in a trash bag when you move somewhere else.
You have your bag.
And those bed in a bags cost how much?
It ranges. I mean, we have ones that you can buy that you could, you donate at Walmart or Big Lots. You can buy them twin size bed sets and donate those. I try to work directly with Big Lots. They have these dorm in a bags, which comes with like hangers, washcloth, towel, and a bed in a bag, and it's little storage unit, and they usually range from $30 to $50 depending on the design that you get.
So $30 to $50, you buy fucking 10 of them, and you take them, or you buy one.
And
of
we
them,
have a tax ID number.
If you buy one of them, and you go to the freaking thing, and
it really helps us more with cash. And the reason why is because we have connections where we could say, we're going to buy 100 bed-in-a bags. Will you give us a 50% discount,
Right.
at wholesale and things like that?
So now the Comfort Project has a website, right?
Yes, comfortproject.org.
Comfortproject.org.
You can check it out.
And if people just feel like, you know what, I want to drive traffic to comfortproject.org. But if you don't want to go online, if you don't want to fucking give them fucking dough, but you're saying, hey, listen, I want to fucking help. Christmas is almost coming. Go to fucking Big Lots, buy a fucking bed in a bag, take it to the local freaking, what's the local places? What places?
Well, there's a bunch of different, if you Google group homes and foster homes and stuff, you'll find places like that.
And even if you show up and hook up like fucking 1 kid, 2 kids, 3 kids, and just make a difference, even in 1 freaking kid.
It really
if
is
everybody just went out there and hooked up 1 kid, or told somebody, hey, listen, I'm too busy, but hey, you go out there and fucking hook up these kids, give them a fucking bed in a bag, unfuck their life for a few minutes.
And that's what it is for me, is that you're taking a moment out of your time. So we think, especially around the holidays, kids want toys. But foster kids have nothing to do with toys. They need no toys. What are they going to do with toys? They're not concerned with playing.
They don't give a fuck about toys.
Their Christmas wish list consists of socks, underwear, pajamas, the basic things that people need.
That's their Christmas list.
You can go on Comfort Project.
You don't even have to get a bed in a bag. Go to fucking Ross and buy a pack of socks and take it to these kids.
It's true. It's those basic things that make us feel human, normal, like this isn't a normal situation.
And this isn't a normal conversation for a Barcast either, but it doesn't always have to be about fucking blowjobs and sex. Sometimes it's about fucking trying to make the world a better place and helping kids out. Kids, I think every kid deserves a fair shot. Every kid deserves a fair shot. Most of them, and a lot of my friends and myself, we come from places that there's a lot of statistics and people don't make it out of there. And as rough as we had it, these fucking kids that are in these homes, not only do they have it rough, their minds are being altered with fucking medication.
I want to extend that not just to the kids, but to adult foster youth. Adult foster youth, adults, like I'm an adult foster youth. I'm an adult woman. I'm 30 years old, obviously. I've had to overcome certain situations to become the advocate that I am now today. But the reality is that there are a lot of people that were in my situation that are still stigmatized by what happened, that are still trying to overcome what was forced on them, what they had to live through. And I don't want to, I want to encourage adult foster youth that it's never too late, that you can always achieve what you've aspired to achieve, that you can advocate for what happened to you in the past. There's such thing as time traveling through the internet. It exists. It exists in the here and now. Time is not linear.
That these kids could get online and travel to an alternate universe where they don't exist in that place anymore. Now that was just my best attempt at doing the History Channel this guy.
Oh my God,
I love the could it be.
You gotta mess the hair up.
I gotta fuck up the hair a little bit.
But it's the reality of it that they can go into the past by helping kids that are going through it right now, and that's who they were. That's the situation.
They get out of their situation, and trying to unfuck somebody's situation makes them feel better.
It really does.
That's the whole principle of.
It really does. You're paying it forward.
Yeah, AA is working with people who are suffering so that you don't focus on your bullshit, and by trying to keep somebody else sober, it keeps you sober.
It really it puts you into that perspective, especially as an adult. And as an adult foster youth, all of a sudden you realize, you know what? I'm not locked up anymore. I do have a voice. I have freedom. People. There's a saying with the elephant. If you chain an elephant to a pole, after so long you can remove the pole and the elephant won't move, because they know that they're not allowed to go past this certain distance. And that's what happens a lot of times to people who are institutionalized. They grow up and they can't. You are this. You'll never be more than this. This file, this paper, you are that. And it takes time to grow out of that and become your own person and have that
That
identity.
shit reminds me of the Eagles lyrics when it says, you could see the stars but still not see the light. So many times it happens that we live our lives in chains and we never realize we have the key. We're out of time. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you to Mary Maxine.
Thank you for having me.
TheComfortProject.org, EdenEscape.com. Hit us up. We're on at Martin Comic, at
The Mary Maxine.
Again, thank you guys, and shit.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you for episode 5. I don't know what direction we're gonna go in, but it's gonna be fucking. But I'm gonna be entertained. I think I do these for me. I mean, I thank you guys for coming, but all right, guys. Salud.